You know, you mentioned the British Isles, and one thing that always strikes me when I go to London, and I love England and the whole area, but there aren't any really big bookstores, any big secondhand stores. No place like this, no place like the Strand. There are all these kind of little small places, but there must be more books in England, I would think.
Oh, I think so.
Than any place around, and I just wonder why that's never taken off there.
I guess because of the cost of real estate in central London. When we would go there in the 70s, we would visit Dawson's of Pall Mall. We would never go to Foyle's because Foyle's was just didn't have the kind of book that we looked for on Charing Cross Road. But there was a little place there called Cecil Court that had 3 or 4 small stores.
I know Cecil Court.
That we used to shop. And then we'd go into the countryside. Trying to think of the gentleman, Peter, well, I can't think of his last name now, had a place out in, I think, Oxfordshire, a big old house with about 100,000 books in it. And we would shop in Cambridge, and I think in Oxford, and we'd go down to the coast to visit the Dawson Periodicals house at that time in Folkestone, Kent. And then, of course, over in Paris, we did a lot of shopping in the Left Bank. One time I saw a book in a Left Bank store called L'Année Aéronautique 1937. And it was, let's say, 300 francs at the time, equivalent of maybe $75. I was unable to afford it. I went back a year later. The book was still on the shelf in the same place. I was able to afford it. Bought it, brought it back here. About 3 months later, a friend of mine from Holland came over and was buying books, and I sold it to him for, I think, $600.
Wow.
It went back to Europe, repatriated it.
Oh, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah. There used to be a wonderful store in Long Beach called Acres of Books,
Oh, yes.
which had been there since the 30s.
Bertram Smith's Acres of Books.
Yeah, he moved from Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, that's right.
And I found, I've been very interested in this writer named Dawn Powell and,
Oh, sure.
and Patrick Hamilton, and I found all these first editions with 50-cent price tags before there was any kind of revival of either of them. And so that was kind of wonderful. Well, I'm curious as to where you see the future of the book business. I know it probably has many, many different futures.
Tim, we already spoke about the impact of electronic media. I personally am not afraid of it. I think that there's still going to be plenty of room to sell traditional kinds of books and to find traditional kinds of books. I don't think they're going to disappear. If we had a way of putting all of our back stock online in a very short period of time, I'm sure our sales would would be the equivalent of a rocket to the moon. We spend most of our time trying to find a rational price for the book and trying to get it online as fast as possible. But it's a long, arduous task from the back room to the sales shelf.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And to find people who are willing to engage in sitting in front of a typewriter, I shouldn't say typewriter, that's a dinosaur, sitting in front of a computer screen and on a keyboard and doing data entry and properly describing the book that has already been priced by one of the senior staff. It takes a lot of time, and it tends to be, for a lot of people, a very boring, arduous way to earn a living.
On the other hand, it's just wonderful to be surrounded by so many wonderful books. Every time I'm here, I'm astonished. And I have to say, I'm going to be one of those people who's always going to wake up in the middle of the night, want to turn on the light, and not turn on a computer and pull over a book. You know,
Yeah.
I really do think so. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. It's really been a pleasure. Anything you want to talk about that we didn't touch on?
I think, we've covered just about everything. What do I do at night? Generally speaking, I take a pile of pamphlets home, and I sit in front of the computer with the pamphlets, and I try to price them. I'll generally have one eye on Fox News, watching O'Reilly and his successor, the people who follow him, Sean Hannity, and one hand around a glass of wine, and I'm checking prices for old pamphlets.
I like most of that.
Right now, I'm going through a lot of religious tracts that were published in this country between about 1790 and about 1880, and some of them are quite worthy in the marketplace.
Well, that's terrific. I mean, and it really is astonishing. I mean, I think of the things that you've found for me over the years, and it's just been great.
Yeah, people say to me, when are you going to retire? You're almost 72 years old. When the hell are you going to get out of this business? I say, I've been retired since 1961, damn it.